when they did form the team in the early stages, it was because of Jacques Kallis. I guess it's a question of loyalty. And of course, Vijay Mallya, the name that was associated. In the larger scope of things, he's just small fry. The point at which he was literally unceremoniously dumped out, everyone makes mistakes, but then I think everyone was looking for a scapegoat. The most knowledgeable fan bases you tend to find are in the south of India.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm born and raised Bangalore, so this is home.
And your team in the IPL?
RCB.
Any specific reason apart from being from Bangalore? Or is that the reason?
That is the reason, and of course, when they picked up Virat Kohli, when he was a relative unknown just on the way up. Big fan of cricket, Virat Kohli was the next big thing, so it was a natural choice.
So it had nothing to do with your greats who represented from the state?
Nah.
So there's no leniency towards having Dravid or Kumble?
No, when they did form the team in the early stages, it was because of Jacques Kallis, Rahul Dravid, and of course Kohli being the big name that came in. It was more out of curiosity because these guys were branded as test players and they were stepping into T20, which was like new at that time. So yeah, wanted to see where this would go.
Your favorite season of the team over the years?
I think it has to be the season where they first reached the finals. And of course, the most recent one wherein they came back from the dead. It was a literal redemption arc, but then they lost it in the last bit, especially in the final. I think those were the two best seasons, the closest they came to winning the cup. This year, let's see, it started off well.
As an RCB fan with years of just disappointment, you start well, or you start well with your hope, but then as the season progresses, your hopes and chances start diminishing. Now comes in another year, again the same sort of a feeling kicks in. How do you go on this year by year?
I guess it's a question of loyalty. Now, there are two aspects of looking at it. One as a fan of the sport and one as a fan of the franchise. So the franchise model was new when it kicked off in the IPL. And I can compare it to how I am loyal to franchises in other sports. For example, Manchester United in football, Ferrari in Formula 1 or in racing. For example, if you ask a kid to draw a supercar, the first thing they remember is a Ferrari and the color red. So that I think is subconscious, and it was also associated with this. And of course, Vijay Mallya, the name that was associated, one of South India's icons, one of Karnataka's icons, Bangalore's icons, and associated with the team, why not?
We'll come back to Mallya, but again, when you talk about the color red, you talk about Ferrari, you talk about Man United, and Bangalore is always known to have people who are sports enthusiasts.
Yep.
So is it a thing about Bangalore where we say loyalty is the only loyalty?
No, it's also knowledge of the sport. So if you take cricket, for example, the most knowledgeable fan bases you tend to find are in the south of India. I think a little above us would be Chennai. I think they are more knowledgeable about the game itself. And then after that would be Bangalore. Historically, we've provided more cricketers to the country from those days. So you think of Gundappa Vishwanath, you look at Syed Kirmani, you look at Roger Binney. These were part of the team that won the 1983 World Cup, especially when they took down the West Indies. So I think there's a lot of lineage and heritage that comes with it. That's why.
We understand that we're proud of our cricket lineage from the state, especially Bangalore, because which is home to us. Now, there is a big social media trend that happens over time about how a water issue between two cities went on to become like a South Indian derby in a very Western sense of said, but it's just like South Indian rivalry.
Yep.
Now, when you look at these two cities go head to head against each other in the sport of cricket, that ideally, like you also mentioned, are the most knowledgeable in terms of the game. When you compare these two teams over the last 18 years, what are your thoughts? What differentiates these two apart from the trophies?
I think how the team is managed overall. So you look at the think tank for CSK and you look at the think tank for RCB. RCB was a more flamboyant team, if I were to say. So if you look at it, the CSK team has always functioned on stability. They've retained the same core of players. It's the same subset of players that won multiple trophies. But Virat Kohli I think he led the team the way he functions. So it was very reactionary. There wasn't stability, so to speak. Like if a player did well in one match, he was retained for one. If he did well, he was let go of without any other chances. A replacement just came in. So I think that kind of stability was not there. That I think is one of the major contributing factors for them being so inconsistent. So you look at consistency, you look at how the leadership in CSK. Dhoni was someone who's like, okay, I'm captain, but I'm going to let you decide and put the onus of accountability on you. Perform. So I think the management styles, the think tank behind it, how the scouts for each team went about scouting players regionally, their strategies on how to approach a season, that has what has put it. And of course, when you mention the political aspect and the social aspect of it, I think a river did play a factor in also putting one more dimension into this rivalry that's been spiced up.
Another thing that comes into play when you think about RCB is for someone like who's from the city as well. You tend to think great franchise, great fan following. It is the team that people follow, unlike Chennai, where there's like a certain name that
Yep.
people look at. But above it all, Bangalore has nurtured some of the greatest of talents and also provided not just for the country but people who are playing in other franchises as well. When you look at your state players or your city players not representing the franchise, does that affect your support for the team?
It's a good question, but I would say it wouldn't. If you look historically, also, Bangalore's always been a migrant city. So even some of your best Ranji players were from other states. So you have a Mayank Agarwal, uh, who is from the north of India. You have KL Rahul right now, who is considered a local, but started his trade in Kerala and then moved on Mangalore, then to Bangalore. You have so many players in the Karnataka team who are not originally from Bangalore. All right. And if you look at the biggest example, I think the biggest gain for Karnataka cricket would be Rahul Dravid, who's from Nagpur, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so it's been a trend, all right, and Bangalore's always been welcoming that way, and I think it follows with the trend of the fan following as well. The thing is, that welcoming nature and accepting one as their own has what's led to RCB being where they are right now. Now look at Virat Kohli. He's literally become a Bangalore boy. He's not from here.
You also mentioned about Vijay Mallya being one of those key factors for you. But when we compare to a certain sort of a rivalry between us and Chennai, we always say, "Oh, you guys are banned because of match fixing." You got 2 years of ban.
Yeah.
But the thing that they say is Vijay Mallya cheated the country, and so these are kind of things that happen back and forth. From someone who mentioned saying Vijay Mallya was one of my reasons to support RCB, what are your thoughts on that particular statement?
Well, I think if you look at Vijay Mallya's situation overall, yes, maybe he went a little ahead of what he thought was possible, but then in the larger scope of things, he's just small fry. The point at which he was literally unceremoniously dumped out, everyone makes mistakes, but then I think everyone was looking for a scapegoat. That's where he caught in. When Kingfisher Airlines was functional, everybody was celebrating it, and it truly was the best domestic airline. And this man had the Midas touch. Started with MCF, Mangalore Chemicals and Fertilizers, diversified, went into the liquor business. Till date, I'm willing to wager no one in the Indian market understands the liquor business like he did. Nobody understands how to promote and how to bring something up the way he does. He modeled himself on Richard Branson. That's the nearest comparison I can think about. But then I think he outdid him in many ways. And cricket, when it was just coming up, IPL, when Lalit Modi brought this in, this was the next best thing for him to diversify. And that's what he did. From your point of view, is Mallya, would you criminalize his name? I wouldn't. He has made his mistakes. I still don't understand. He has made multiple offers to settle the debt, but nobody wants to accept that. They still want to extradite him and make a case of it. There are others also, right? There are people like Mehul Choksi, all of these guys who are involved in all of this. Nobody wants to talk about them, but catch the guy who's most flamboyant and out there and make an example of him. So I think it's a witch hunt. Well, we come back to cricket now in terms of RCB again. Do you think the current RCB management manages the team better than how Mallya did? I would like to think so, but I don't see much of a difference because their retention strategies and how they've approached it has been quite a mixed bag. They have this guy Mo Bobat right now, who's only known in the circles after his association with RCB as the director of operations for RCB. Nobody had heard about him then. Uh, some of the retention strategies made absolutely no sense. Letting go of players like Chahal, you let go of a lot of players who are now doing well in other franchises. Uh, it's not paid off. It could have been more sound, and I think I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that strategy think tank to understand why they are thinking the way they are. But this is the best of what they've done now, and thankfully this year the first two uh, matches seems to be paying off. Let's hope it works.
Since you mentioned about the bad decision making in terms of retaining players, if you were wishing to retain one player, like a decision that went wrong back in the day, who is that one player you would retain?
Mitchell Stark. He took a 5 for today.
And just finally, a few questions based on this season. We've always said, this is the year, this is the year. We've had 2 good games. Do you think, not in terms of the hope that we always have, but technically a lot of people believe that we are strong this year. Do you think we will win it this year?
There's a good chance because it was always batting heavy. Now the bowling's working. I think if the bowling unit clicks, there's a good chance they can go off into the playoffs. The rest is all about how the match turns out on the day. We hope this year.
And we don't want to jinx it by saying Salah Cup Namde. In your thoughts, what should we do and not do to win the trophy as fans?
Not hype it up too much. I think the aura of expectation also gets to the players eventually, and I'm sure it's only going to get more once they get to the playoffs, if and when they do it. Just take it one day at a time. I think that's the best approach.
The heartbeat of Bangalore.